and blended events on digital skills for EDI, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, DigiComp and digital certifications, digital media literacy and culture, and even more on cybersecurity and safer internet, digital skills for specific sectors, and the twin transition. I want to greet you and thank all those who have worked very hard in the last months for the organization of the campaign, including the members of the All Digital Board, the staff, our strategic partners, of course, our supporters, Microsoft and Certiport, as well as the keynote speakers and the panelists that will intervene during the event. But first and foremost, I wish to thank Commissioner Nicolas Schmit for his continuous and friendly support to all digital initiatives, and I therefore take the chance to invite him to join us live for the first keynote speech. Thank you.
However, it didn't work, I think, no? So, I'd say, well, good afternoon, everybody. Dear partners, dear friends. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for inviting me. I wish I could be with you in person today. However, the ongoing plenary session of the European Parliament means I have to be in Strasbourg. Ironically, this type of virtual invention should not have been possible, or at least have been much more difficult only a few years ago. And it is just evidence that digital is everywhere, and that a lot of things become possible that would not have been possible just not so long before. Truly, digitalization has and will continue to change the world of work as we know it. This means both challenges and opportunities. To make it the best of the opportunities for Europe, we need to equip people with the skills needed. Actually, we are convinced that skills are the backbone of the digital transition. However, almost half of the European adult population still lack basic digital skills. But over 90% of jobs require digital skills. Particularly worrying are the differences between member states. In some member states, nearly 80% of adults have at least basic digital skills, whereas in others only around 30%. This is hampering Europe's competitiveness. Around 70% of businesses have said that the lack of staff with adequate digital skills is an obstacle to investment. And it is really not good for the individual who misses out on important job opportunities. Moreover, I think all of us here today know that digital skills are not only needed for the labor market. They have become a prerequisite to live in today's society. Those without digital skills risk being excluded from fully participating in society, a society that is becoming more and more digitalized in every respect. This gives us an idea of the challenge we face and the reason why I appreciate very much the 10th edition of the All Digital Week. This year's edition falls squarely between our most recent proposal to boost digital education and skills in Europe and the official start of the European Year of Skills on May 9th. Indeed, for a number of years now, we have been developing and rolling out our skills policies. The European Skills Agenda, alongside other initiatives from our strategy 2025, to help individuals and businesses develop more and better skills. Yesterday's proposals to boost digital education and skills are the latest deliverable of this strategy. They provide concrete recommendations to member states to bring about a digital skills revolution. They are based on the human-centered approach, one that cares for the individual, and on one that looks after disadvantaged groups and disadvantaged regions of the EU. One that aims also at gender equality in the digital field. The digital gender divide is detrimental to our economies as it is for our societies as a whole. We have to overcome the existing barriers in order to abolish this divide. This is not only a social and moral duty. Faced with enormous labor shortages, it is also an economic imperative. Allow me to highlight four of the most important principles of our suggested approach. First and foremost, we recommend member states to apply a whole-of-government approach. Digital education skills should not be thought through in silos. They should be developed applying a transversal approach because, and I repeat myself, digital now is everywhere. The absence of such a whole-of-government approach has actually been identified as the main challenge to developing and implementing a comprehensive digital education and skills policy in our member states. In this context, we recommend developing a national and transversal strategy involving the different departments, government, as well as stakeholders and social partners. Secondly, we want to start early. Already early childhood education care plays a fundamental role in supporting children to become active citizens and learners. This should be continued in primary, secondary, and tertiary education, including vocational education and training. Thirdly, we promote cross-curricular vision of digital skills. This approach teaches digital skills in most subjects and has to engage a greater number of teachers and students. Talking about teachers, any curriculum is only as good as the teachers teaching it. So we also promote that member states should include digital pedagogy in teachers' initial and continuous training. In fact, studies show that the area of digital competence is the one where most teachers feel a strong need for professional development. So, upskilling and reskilling programs need to be adapted to the needs of teachers, especially when dealing with specific or advanced digital areas. Fourthly, we promote equitable and impact-focused investment in high-quality, resilient, and inclusive digital education and training. Such investment is a key enabling factor for successful digital education and training. And here we need more innovative approaches that help to reskill and upskill our workforce and our citizens. There are already a lot of extremely valuable programs that help people, the young, but also those who are a bit less young, to acquire an appropriate level of digital skills, opening to them the access to quality jobs. It is not the previous degree that is important. It is motivation, and it is the method, how people are trained and taught to, above all. We have to make these programs available to much larger groups. Unprecedented e-funding is available, with more than 28 billion euro coming from the Recovery and Resilience Facility. The European Social Fund Plus, or the Digital Europe program, The territorial dimension is of particular concern here. We must close the gap between bigger cities and rural areas. High-speed internet must be available across the entire EU, and technologies such as 5G or satellite solutions exist and should be used. In this broad context, the recognition of certification of digital skills is absolutely key. Therefore, the Commission will run a pilot project of the European Digital Skills Certificate. Several member states have already announced their participation, and I invite others to join. Our objective is clear. The final European Digital Skills Certificate will be rolled out in 2024. This will help people have their digital skills recognized widely, quickly, and easily by employers, training providers, and so on. Finally, yesterday, we also adopted another important package. Hundreds of thousands of job vacancies mean a loss of economic growth and prosperity. And these job vacancies are in the field of cyber security. And here it's not just the jobs which are at stake, it's also our own security which is under pressure. We are facing new challenges precisely at the level of our security. And that's why cybersecurity has become a major priority for governments as well as for private business. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of good jobs. Yesterday, the Commission precisely launched a package on cybersecurity, with the idea that we have to close the cybersecurity talent gap to boost the EU's competitiveness, growth, and resilience. And here, the creation of Cybersecurity Skills Academy is an essential tool to promote quality training in this field. Even if we are aware that there is no easy solution, I think that this package, these recommendations, the creation of the Academy in cybersecurity, but also other measures which were adopted yesterday, like the certificate, should create a new momentum for a digital skills revolution. It is also precisely this momentum that we want to create more widely with the European Year of Skills. As mentioned before, it will be officially launched on the 9th of May with a unique skills festival that is reaching out to all the member states and to all European citizens. It builds on the many measures, initiatives, and proposals we have made in the last few years. Now it is about implementing them effectively and across the entire EU. Let me be very clear. These measures alone will not solve our problems, but we need to change the mindset towards reskilling and upskilling. The All Digital Week is, in that sense, a fantastic opportunity to promote this message. Reskilling and upskilling are essential for the future of work and are essential for a more prosperous Europe. And when I read the program today, it is great to see such a diverse list of speakers. I see a strong private sector representation, and I have to welcome, and with great pleasure, the strong commitment of many companies, and especially digital companies, to train or retrain hundreds of thousands of people, making digital an opportunity for all. It is also very important to include social partners. The digital transformation needs a strong social dialogue among social partners. We count on all you here today to work towards the area of skills this year more than ever, but it will not end with the year of skills. It should be a new start. Thank you very much. Well, I haven't understood your question because your mic was probably not turned on.
Thanking you for your relevant testimony of institutional commitment to our mission and advocacy that we carry out every day in Europe. And I know that you are available for a couple of questions from the audience. So I just invite anyone who wants to ask a question to do so.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I heard a lot of issues raised by you that are quite of a concern for us. I'm Gina Ebner from the European Association for the Education of Adults, and I wanted to raise with you the issue of non-formal and informal learning. As you very probably know, this is where actually most of the learning for adults is taking place, especially when we talk about disadvantaged groups, but also our understanding of skills. You know, obviously digital skills are both for work, but also for, you know, our everyday life. So I was going to ask you, how does the European Year of Skills take all these aspects into consideration?
You couldn't hear anything. No.
It was not loud enough to be audible.
No,
here.
I couldn't hear the question, so I'm sorry, because probably in the room you heard the question, but it didn't go through.
If you have just one more minute, I will try to. She's not hearing me. Hello. Okay, so the question was, how do you think non-formal education, which is very relevant for our networks, should be included in the policy and the financial instruments of the European Commission? I hope you hear. It's not hearing.
We are trying to cope with some technical problems. Can you hear me now? You cannot hear me.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Now we have to understand you.
Oh, all right, great. Non-formal education.
Non-formal education for digital skills in Europe.
Well, as I said, we need extremely innovative approaches. I think we need a more classical approach, the normal from early age on, but we need certainly also less formal, more flexible, more practical approaches in digital training. I am a very great supporter of this more informal ways for digital training, because I see that thousands of people go through this more informal training and get very good job opportunities here. So I think the informal way, especially As I said, it's not just about the degree, it's more about motivation and interest which people have in digital skills. So I'm very much in favor of that. And here I think also at the end, the digital certificate can be helpful, because if I have an informal training and I can really prove that the real skills I have, this can then be a way also to the labor market, because my skills, it's not important how I got the skills. What is important is I have the skills. It's not the way, the diploma or whatever, the way how I got them. In here, informal skills can be very helpful.
Thank you very much. It's clear that we also have to enhance our digital skills given the result of this connection.
Yes, there's a need for improvement there.
Exactly. I thank and I hope to see you soon for our next initiative. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I don't know if I can be heard or not, or if it works at all. Thank you, Ato, for improvising. Well, sorry for this technical malheur. It still happens after so many years of practicing. Sorry for that. Welcome again on behalf of me and my team, O Digital. My name is Peter Paveli. I'm the CEO of the organization. Welcome to the international launch event of the All Digital Weeks campaign, which is our regular annual campaign for inclusion, empowerment, and employment. And this year, as Ato already explained, is running from the 17th April until the 7th of May. And through the promotion of inclusive, accessible, and quality digital competence development and digital education, the campaign aims to help Europeans to learn and to be inspired by the opportunities of digital transformation. Our campaign is being supported by the European Commission, is co-funded by the European Commission, but we also have supporting partners, and we also have strategic partners who support our campaign and activities. And I would like to invite now one of our supporters, which is Microsoft. And I'm sorry. And Microsoft has been a traditional partner of O Digital. They have been supporting our activities. And now I would like to invite Jeremy Rollison, Senior Director of EU Government Affairs from Microsoft. Jeremy, thank you very much for your support and continued support for O Digital, and the floor is yours.
And thank you for the chance to be here today. I had the privilege of speaking at this event last year, as a matter of fact. And as Peter mentioned, we appreciate not just the organization of this, but the partnership that we've had for a number of years. Microsoft has been a long-standing partner of All Digital and many other initiatives in this space. And I'm here today because I lead the EU policy team here in Brussels. So I'm based in Brussels. I'm working on many of these policy files, encapsulating digital transformation more broadly. But I'm also joined by colleagues dedicated more to specifics in this space. So I have my colleague Gerardo from our philanthropies team. I have my colleague Andrea from the EU policy team. And I think what I'm trying to say is, there's much more emphasis in this space than ever before, at least at Microsoft and more widely. We've talked about this over the years and the importance of computer science training and the like. And naturally, a technology company like ours has workforce and technical needs. But we're seeing this space much broader than that. As the commissioner said in the outset, this is a space with more and more partnerships. It's happening in more and more sectors, but it's happening beyond just industry. This is happening in collaboration with social partners in nonprofits, specifically in the education sector. So this skilling opportunity, particularly from a digital context, we do see is more important than ever, and it's something that requires more partnerships than ever, and we're really happy to be a part of that. This year, the commissioner set out some of the statistics that we used to describe where we see this opportunity. There's not just a tech skills shortage, but it's a variety of skills where there's a shortage. I think what we're trying to look at is not just addressing some of the same challenges that the Commission has outlined and our customers, our partners are very well aware of, but making sure that we have this future-ready set of skills much, much more broadly across all of those different aspects of the economy. The opportunity, I think, is well known, and I think the data creates a clear picture of where there's an urgent need for skills development in the EU. As the Commissioner mentioned, and we're using the same statistics, which is always quite reassuring, the supply of qualified talent is lacking, and again, that does have an impact on innovation and competitiveness. But I also want to emphasize that it has an impact on inclusion. There is different ways that these skill sets benefit different parts of our society, and one of the big important aspects of this, particularly in a recovery context and some of the things we experienced during the pandemic, is to make sure that these benefits are shared as widely as possible. So that skill shortage isn't just a workforce issue, but it's much, much broader than that. And it's working with many of the nonprofits and other social partners that we have in Europe that we have to do this together. On cybersecurity in particular, this is an area where, with an increasing reliance on digital technologies, obviously there's an increasing number of cyber threats. In Europe, this has only increased, it's only going to continue to increase, and that's the case around the world. So we need a workforce that's not only skilled, but also vigilant and resilient. We've heard about the opportunities in the cybersecurity jobs context, and I think we see not only 3.5 million cybersecurity jobs opening globally, but this is more than a 350% increase over an 8-year period. The opportunity is tremendous. The opportunity is there. I think we're all well aware of it. And it's a timely event today when we think about some of those corresponding announcements from the Commission just yesterday. We've been working to close this gap in Europe and increase diversity in this profession for quite some time. Last year, we announced the expansion of our cybersecurity skills initiative to 13 countries in Europe, namely Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Norway, Poland, Romania, Spain, Switzerland, and Sweden, as well as the UK. We've been working with local education institutions, governments, nonprofits, and businesses to develop a cybersecurity skills program that fits the unique needs of these unique markets. And in fact, a series of these pioneering training courses are already active in cities across Europe, particularly opening up opportunities for people from undeserved communities. Among students are refugees from Ukraine and Syria, many of them women. We're supporting these efforts with additional grants a year after expanding our cybersecurity skills initiative and the aim to bring more diverse mix of candidates into the European cybersecurity talent pool. It's encouraging to hear the European Commission talk about the opportunity similarly. And it is that inclusion effort and the diversity that we're trying to emphasize more and more, and making sure this is still not that traditional lens of seeing it as only a technology company opportunity. Just today, we're going to be announcing more about how we're doubling down on our efforts to close the cyber skills gap in Europe, and also aiming to close the gender gap in cyber roles by focusing on majority women cohorts. So I encourage you to look out for more details. We hope to make more announcements later this afternoon, and I'll leave those to the details that are forthcoming. But we're really excited about it. I want to emphasize that all of this is aimed at building a more inclusive cyber workforce. There's been countless studies that have shown that the sector has a profound lack of diversity. This leaves a large talent pool untapped, and diverse perspectives and experiences are missing. We need to address some of those systemic barriers and challenges that underrepresented communities face, particularly in accessing cybersecurity, education, and career opportunities. This requires implementing policies that support and empower these communities and learners from non-traditional education backgrounds. We've learned a lot in our own cybersecurity skilling initiative, and nonprofit skilling partners play a key role here, which is why we continue to support partnerships like this, and my colleague Gerardo is supporting partnerships all across Europe. This is a space that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, and I don't think anyone can do it alone. I think the Commissioner emphasized the importance of social partners, private sector collaboration, its governments, its educators, its nonprofits, its private companies, and we're excited to be a part of that. Skipping ahead to where we see some of the next steps in this space, I've announced already much of what we're doing in the context of cyber skilling. I think the Commission has recognized that opportunity. We're a proud partner of the European Pact for Skills. This year, we have a number of announcements, some of which, again, will be coming out later today. Yesterday saw 2 council recommendations put forward. There's a Cyber Skills Academy that we're keen to support and remain committed to different type of partnerships like this. But we're also looking at the next step. When we talk about AI, that is everything from cloud to cyber, but as some of the recent announcements have shown, just all of the excitement in that space. We never want to understate the challenges and definitely some of the fears. This is only going to open more doors to possibilities that might have seemed like just science fiction yesterday. And mastering the basics here in AI can help learners and job seekers jumpstart careers and get ready to dive deeper into other technological opportunities. We're really excited about what these services can deliver, and we want to be humble about where the challenges are. The benefits of all of these technologies only go so far as those who are involved in the development thereof and involved in the outputs thereof. And to do that, we need to make sure there is an appropriately educated workforce, an aware workforce, and not just the workforce, but also citizens and partners writ large. So we're really committed to what we see as a coordinated approach of all of the stakeholders. These are rapid changes. It does require a comprehensive approach from policymakers, educators, employers, workers. Just want to emphasize, nobody can do this alone. We're proud to do our part. We're going to continue to do our part, but we're going to have to work with others to do that. And we're really keen and excited, I think, about the way the Commission and others see this, how we can set best practice, how we can look at local initiatives that have learnings that can be shared more widely across Europe. None of this is easy, but if we want to get this digital transformation right, we do think everybody should have the opportunity to be a part of this digital transformation, this green transformation, and have access to the skills that are needed. We're hoping to continue conversations like this with all of our partners, not just here in Brussels, but across Europe. And I hope you take the chance to look forward to some of the broader announcements we're going to make later today, and hopefully talk to some of my colleagues or myself. We're available for questions in more detail. And I hope to see you next year as well. This is an exciting space, and I think it's only going to get more and more exciting as we look forward, particularly in the context of economic recovery and some of the excitement, but some of the challenges that I think we're going to have over the next year. So with that, thank you. And I hope I can still take time for some questions and answer any questions during the break. Thanks, Peter.
Hello? 1, 2, 1, 2, test. 1, 2, 1, 2. Anybody?
Hi, Jeremy. If you could tell us how can digital competence centers and providers of digital competence trainings best interact with industry players, in particular tech companies, to really improve the offer that they can make to, for accessible and inclusive trainings?
It's a fantastic question. I think it reinforces the point that I made earlier, that no one can do this together, or no one can do this alone. We have to do this together. There is an awareness amongst many of those institutions that there is a need, but getting into the specifics of exactly what type of certifications are most prominent on the market, looking at what skills are most in demand, and that's getting more and more diverse from different sectors, but also from different communities. Where are those skills gaps? What type of certifications have the market recognition? We've done a lot in that space to make some of this freely available training programs, skilling certificates that can be obtained. I would encourage everyone to take a look. I've earned a few badges myself in that space, and we are trying to look at ways to make it more and more accessible. It depends on the level of, I don't want to say detail with some of the centers and the programs, but I want to emphasize what we talked about earlier. There's a really exciting amount of work that's going on in a technology space and new coding languages and different types of cloud certifications, AI certifications that we're seeing become increasingly popular in different industries. But it's a broader set of those skills, even for general awareness and fundamentals that I think have a much, much wider scope at different education layers. So the simple answer to your question would also be to talk to Microsoft colleagues like Gerardo, like Andrea, and others for more of that detail. But we have partners across Europe, and we have teams across Europe that are tapped into not just educator communities, but increasingly some of those technical and cyber skilling initiatives. And NISA comes to mind. We're a huge partner there. So I think it's just a dialogue that has to continue to be maintained, and we hope to always have a role at the table there. The good news is, I think, compared to some other spaces, it's a more widely accepted recognition of the importance of that dialogue, and the public sector as well knows that they can't do it alone. We're excited about some of the assets we can bring to that, you know, leveraging aspects of our LinkedIn graph to be able to showcase, you know, where workforces are looking for these jobs, what type of skill sets are most in demand, where gaps occur in local markets. So we think we have a big role to play there. We recognize it, but it is a dialogue, and we also need to understand the needs of local communities. So I think it depends a lot on the different emphasis that you may be placing on it, from an industrial perspective to education and the like. But, you know, today we also want to just emphasize that it's also some of these underserved populations that I think the gaps have been identified that we're also trying to fill with announcements that have been forthcoming, some of the ones I mentioned. But all in all, the simplest answer is that there just has to be that dialogue in place, and we hopeful to have formal channels to do so.
People at home don't. Okay. Okay, so I just wanted to echo what you were saying and the importance of kind of working together, because we are a partner of Microsoft in Romania, and we've been working together with you for a number of years, and more recently on the issue of cybersecurity. And I just wanted to say that we've actually really formed a sort of quite transversal kind of partnership across with the academic world and with business world and with local authorities, national authorities. We're working with the Romanian police, with the National Directorate for Cybersecurity, and I actually want to say that you have some great resources, and they're really, really valuable to actually us bringing this out into our communities and actually getting people who wouldn't normally have access to this kind of training to actually start bringing them in, you know, in entry-level jobs initially in cybersecurity, and then working their ways up into sort of maybe higher kind of skilled jobs. So thank you very much, and yes, I'd like to encourage, you know, maybe the audience here to sort of take up this dialogue with you, because for us it had a tremendous value. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I think it's a better answer to your question. I think it's actually learning from what's worked and making sure that we roll that out more widely. So appreciate the feedback.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you, Peter.
And once again, thank you very much for your continued support to All Digital and our activities. As I mentioned, we have for the All Digital Weeks campaign supporters like Microsoft, and we have strategic partners. And Andrea, my colleague, would be able to confirm how many strategic partners we have, but definitely one of them is the lifelong learning platform. And I would like to welcome the Secretary General, Executive Director of Lifelong Learning Platform, Brikena Shomaki, who is with us today. And Brikena, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for joining us.
A small scale. Okay, well, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I know I'm very small. Well, I'm glad to be here, and it's a great honor as well to be part of the opening of the All Digital Weeks, which is now a well-established tradition organized by All Digital, where I had the pleasure in the past as well to contribute, and it's becoming a key milestone in the EU agenda in the digital field. So I'm really honored to be here and to see many of you, some of you that I know, others that I will have probably the chance to get to know. I just run from Paris, so I'm super energetic mentally, but physically exhausted. And I really wanted to be here. So I really insisted, despite my busy agenda, because I was actually in Paris. We had a research conference on transversal skills assessment and validation. And on validation of non-formal and informal learning, which I know is one of the areas that you are covering as well, and is an important issue you work as well. But I wanted to be here because I think one of the missions of All Digital, one of the great work that you are doing, is to ensure the social dimension of digital education and training. And I truly believe in that, and we must continue to fight for ensuring that social dimension. And I'm glad that the lifelong learning platform can count on the work of All Digital and other member organizations. We are a big, happy family that think alike of many education and training providers, civil society organizations, from formal education sector to non-formal and informal learning, as it was mentioned by Gina from EAEA as well, how much we value the work and the added value of non-formal and informal learning. So for us, it's very important that we work together, and it was mentioned that indeed we cannot solve the issue alone, we need to work together. When it comes to the link of digital education and training and lifelong learning, as we speak of digital divide issues, well, they are kind of interlinked with each other. They kind of help each other. So we need more lifelong learning in order to get the skills, equip people, empower individuals with digital and basic skills in order to further give learning opportunities to new learners. So on one side, lifelong learning is helping digital education and training, but on the other side, digital education and training is creating new opportunities to a new and more diverse learners group, those that for social economic reasons cannot continue conventional education journey, or just attend classes, or just don't want to attend classes. So we see a lot of opportunities coming with the digital development in education and training, but also a lot of risks, a lot of dangers, if we don't equip the people with those prerequisite skills, the basic and transversal skills, the critical thinking, and the safety to use those digital skills and to navigate in the digital world. I think these risks are not yet enough explored, are not yet enough researched. We don't have sufficient data to prove the impact that they are having on the learners, and we must invest on that. I think it's very important, and the pandemic showed us how important it was to was equipped with digital skills and digital infrastructures, but also how to prepare people to critically use them. So I think these are some of the challenges that we must work on together. Ensuring the social dimension of the digital education and training means also rethinking the role of education of teachers. And in the lifelong learning platform, we promote the idea of the learner-centered approach. So basically all the development in digital and education training and technologists must look at the learner at the center, and learners' needs as the key influential in those developments. And that means looking also at the way teachers and teaching is organized in a classroom. We don't believe anymore on a teachers to student type of relation, but rather on a facilitation role that the teacher has now, or that the educator has, to guide individuals, use their knowledge, because each of us comes in the classroom or in whatever learning environment with a lot of knowledge that is not exploited, is not aware of. So the teacher plays that key role. And the digital technologies can facilitate that, can make the teaching experience maybe more joyful, can make it more dynamic if used, and if, of course, we have the skills to use them in that way. But also, digital social dimension of the digital development means also looking at how digital tools are preparing people to a new way of participating in the society, are ensuring that everyone is on board in the digital world and that we don't leave anyone behind. That means having the skills to participate in the democratic life. Nowadays, especially younger generations, they tend to participate in democratic process not anymore through a vote, but through opinions and feedbacks on social media and on different digital tools. They are not considered yet by the democratic governance, and yet they exist. So we need to see at how to exploit this potential, but also how to make the best out of it, to have everyone on board for a democratic society. And I think that the research, as I mentioned, is very important in that regards. Very often we see the two-speed. Obviously, we need to work with the private sector, but what we see between private and public sector is that there are two different levels of speed. One is going faster than the other. And the problem of that is that we are serving those that, okay, need further digital skills, but they already are qualified. So we are serving the already qualified people, and we're not necessarily serving those that are most in need. So we need to be careful that we do not reinforce the inequalities. I mean, I did hear very well Microsoft saying about how they also look at these vulnerable groups, and I obviously would encourage all companies to do so, and there are plenty of examples that they are doing so, but the speed of it is scary, and we must do it in cooperation with civil society organizations. We must do it with NGOs, community actors that are closer to those groups. So it's very important that we shape the future of digital education and training together. And in that shaping, I also want to say that we need and we must empower people to think of the social change as they are the drivers, rather than digital being the drivers of social change, which very often we kind of have the feeling of like the digital is pushing us towards something, instead of we are pushing through digital to something. So I think if I would have one big message here today for you, and which I hope these weeks will discuss about as you are focusing on issues of inclusion, equality, equity, is really how we can take the control to shape the future using digital tools and digital means to do so, to empower individuals and to ensure this social dimension of digital development. And today was a happy day because the Commission announced the two Council recommendations, which look indeed, one of them looks at these aspects of digital education and training, and the other one looks at the digital teaching, digital skills teaching professions, which also lags behind in Europe. We have plenty of issues. We see it on every day. We saw it today. We can not always trust digital tools. We must continue to invest. We must continue to work together. And I think these weeks are an example of that. So I congratulate you, and I wish you all the best for these weeks, and count, of course, on all the network to push together for this agenda. Thank you very much for having me.
Very much, Brikena, and I would like to just take the opportunity to ask the participants if they have any questions for you.
It means I was clear.
Well, thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Well, as it was well emphasized by our keynote speakers, digital competencies are not only necessary for employability and the needs of the European labor market, but also essential for participation in the society, democratic processes, addressing inequalities, discrimination, basically safeguarding social rights. And to highlight some of these topics, we have invited a number of panelists to join us today for a discussion which is entitled Digital Skills for Equity, Diversity and Inclusion, from Basic to Advanced. And I would like now to ask our panelists to join us on the stage. Georgi Dimitrov, Head of Unit from the European Commission, DG AC. Anna Carreiro, Deputy Head of Unit, DG Employment from the European Commission, from the Unit of Vocational Education and Training at CEDEFOP. I would like to ask Achilles Kameas to join us. He is a professor at the Hellenic Open University and a board member of All Digital. We have Sara Loriato, Policy Officer from the Age platform with us, Alessia Sebillo, Executive Director, DSIS Network, Jakub Christoph, Secretary General from the Council of European Professional Informatics Societies, CEPIS, and Gina Ebner from the European Association for Education of Adults, EAEA Secretary General. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and for your participation. And first of all, I would like to ask you to very briefly introduce yourself, your institution and or organization you work for, really in a 1-minute time frame, by answering an open or finishing an open sentence. And this sounds like enhancing digital skills is important for all because. And I would like to start with you, Georgi, if you would like to answer this question. Or not, it's not a question, sorry, sentence.
Thank you, Peter, also for the invitation to be here. Continuing, because it is foundational to understand the type of technology and reality which is around us, in order to be able to master it and ultimately control it. This is why it is important.
Thank you very much. The same open sentence for Sara. Enhancing digital skills is important for all because.
Well, because somehow new technologies and digitalization is unavoidable from our daily lives. And there is a clear risk of exclusion, so we must be sure not to leave anyone behind.
Thank you very much. Anna, the same question for you. Thank you.
Well, coming from the Directorate General of Employment, Social Inclusion, I would say that it's important to participate in society and for inclusion and also to match labor market needs.
Thank you. Jakub?
It's important for everyone, including the community of IT professionals, because we are all living in a digital world, which sometimes has its mishaps.
Electronic world.
Exactly, and sometimes it continues persistently. And it's important for the community of IT professionals, as users are very much important parts of any system, including the audio ones, and it is essential. Maybe you can. It's me. Yes, it's something to do with my voice, probably not corresponding. And without the certain degree of the digital competences, the work of even the most skilled IT professionals is futile.
Thank you, Jakub. Achilles, it has a voice recognition system, so either it works or not.
Let's see.
Well, Achilles, why is it important for everyone?
It is important for everyone because everyone is important, and we don't have the luxury to leave anyone behind or out. And also because everyone's time is important, so we don't even have the luxury to wait, to be late.
Thank you, Achilles. Alessia.
Yes, I will try to answer too. So, I mean, I represent an organization that supports the promotion of social economy. And for us, whenever there is the digitalization, try to. Oh my God. Yes. So I was saying that when there is the digitalization, so the need of, as was said before, it's something that we might be critics on it, but digitalization is not stopping, and this is quite the fundamental also if we want to advance on the sustainability and the inclusivity. So the three things are very much connected to each other. They cannot just go one on another. If we want a more sustainable world, we must also want a more digital and then a more inclusive world. So, and in order to do that, we need digital skills for all. This is a must.
Thank you, Alessia. And Gina?
It's important for participation and democracy.
Thank you. Now let's go to the next round, and for each panelist we would have a question. And I would like to turn back to Georgi Dimitrov first. We heard that there have been important decisions yesterday. The College of Commissioners adopted a digital education package. I think, if I'm not mistaken, only yesterday. And if you could explain what it contains and is about, and what are some of the Commission's plans for digital education in Europe.
Okay, let's give it a try with a mic, and let's see how this works. Yes, it's true that the college adopted yesterday 2 council recommendations, which were kindly already referred to. Thank you very much for that. And this has been work which I represent DGAC, which stands for Education and Culture, which we have been leading in, but actually in close cooperation together with a number of other services, among them my colleague here, personally, also institutionally, I have to say. So very nice to be on that panel. This is a very tricky question, Peter, because council recommendations are not really page turners normally. So I would probably just highlight a few things here rather than give you the rundown, because I am afraid that that's going to overwhelm everyone, including myself. Let's start with the foundation. So we have 2 council recommendations, one of which is called key enabling factors. Why? Because in order to get any kind of digital skills, you have to have the ecosystem around you. It's not possible to learn this in theory. You need to somehow apply it. I mean, it is perfectly possible to do some computer science with your book somewhere, but in reality, you need a whole ecosystem. And this goes for any type of digital skill, advanced, basic, whatever, specialist. You need essentially the system around you. And this is just like you need the physical school in order to be able to get education. It's not really different from that. The only difference is that the schools have been there for centuries, whereas the digital education ecosystem is just emerging and does so very, very fast. So when we talk about enablers, this is just in order to be able to develop this type of digital skills. And what we need there is not very, I would say, rocket science-y either. I mean, we all know it. It's about the infrastructure. It's about access to devices, very important for inclusion. It's about connectivity. It's very bizarre or surprising that even now, I mean, it's 2023, we are surrounded, by all kinds of technologies, including generative AI. Still, less than 20% of schools have gigabit access to connectivity, whereas we're playing, God with AI. So there are some fundamental mismatches in the system itself, which is why we have proposed some measures to the member states, recommendations, of course, and in order to make the ecosystem work, first of all. So it's about investment in this type of enablers. Very important point, it's also about working more effectively together when developing such a I would say, more novel digital ecosystem. Why is that important? Because responsibilities and schools are run mostly in member states by the member states. I mean, they are public in like the wide majority of them. It's important because if you have a governance structure which is perhaps a little bit outdated, and when you need to equip your education system with all kinds of digital capabilities, then often the competences are not to be found in the education ministry only, which is a big problem if you go back 2 years ago. And then you just try to remember, you know, what happened in certain countries in terms of access, in terms of teachers not being able to reach out to their students. So we need actually different policy areas also to work together. We speak there of a whole of government approach, which means that education, employment policy, finance, infrastructure should work very closely together. And we essentially recommend the member states to put such dialogues. By the way, today's start of the week is a very nice example of this as well, because it brings the different stakeholders together, including the private sector. So if all of this, let's say, which arguably is a very long-term task and evolution, if you like, is reached, then we can talk about the, let's say, achievement of the targets that we are setting ourselves for digital skills. And here I come to the second council recommendation, which is essentially about answering the question, how can education and training systems better teach digital skills, and how can people learn more effectively? We all know the numbers, they have been mentioned, and here we are proposing some measures to the member states. Maybe I can mention just two or three. One very important measure that we are proposing to the member states is that they consider the introduction of high quality informatics education on a more, I would say, widespread basis than today. Again, why? Because it's a foundational science. It teaches about the digital world in a scientific way, not in, let's say, in a superficial one. And yet, if you look at the numbers and how much it is offered in the member states, it's quite surprising to see that it's still nowhere near its other, let's say, peers like physics or chemistry or mathematics and so on, and science. So access to high quality informatics education is very, very important. And for this also, there is a need to find, engage, and also really motivate teachers that work also in this field, because this is a very difficult group of people to find, because I mean most of them they go to the private sector. So it's really a vicious circle of being able to keep the teachers, but also to develop them into let's say specialized teachers who can teach this type of digital skills to all pupils and students. There is also a specific recommendation to the member states per sector, meaning primary, secondary, and vocational education and training, but also in higher education. I don't want to go there. What I want to say is that what we are proposing is a systematic overview on how each of those sectors can perhaps more effectively address the needs for digital skills, because it's happening. I don't want to also create any impression here that this is new. As I said, it's more a question of how to improve it and how to make it more effective. And I invite you just to have a look at it. As I said, I don't want to overwhelm you with the information. Maybe the last point I would like to make is that the Commission is of course operating in the field of subsidiarity here. So we have to be very realistic in terms of what the Commission is proposing and what the member states will eventually adopt. And of course, I have to add what they will also implement, because that's really the ultimate question here. What we need right now, I think, is a common effort of the, let's say, public, private authorities, but also of stakeholders, as long as, of course, they support this. in order to invite the member states to go a little bit further than they have done so far, to also cooperate more at the European level, and to perhaps establish a more effective way of achieving these type of objectives. Why? Because most of these challenges are not unique to any member state. They are very, very widespread and common, in fact. So it's probably a good idea to exchange and to cooperate more, because otherwise everyone would reinvent the wheel. So very lengthy answer to your question, but thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Georgi, and I think it's a call for our members to get involved in these processes and again emphasizing the importance of digital competence centers, non-formal education actors. My next question is for Anna, and we would like to hear more about the European Year of Skills, which is just about to be launched. And please tell us about the Commission plans and visions related to the European Year of Skills. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for having me as well, in addition to the Commissioner who already set a little bit the scene. So basically, the European Year of Skills comes in a very specific context. We have a lot of hope and a lot of opportunities that the transitions that we are trying to push, the digital and the green transition, will bring. But we are also facing a lot of challenges. We have all heard also from our keynote speakers about the shortages that companies are facing in digital, but also for other skills. We also have a situation where adults don't participate in training very often. We are trying to reach a very ambitious figure of 60% of all adults participating in training every year. We are still at 37%, and we are also facing other challenges coming from demographics. We know that our working population is shrinking progressively. So we thought that it's really time to take action in this respect and give visibility and change the mindset around skills, not only for the labor market, but also, as we were saying before, and many people were already highlighting, for inclusion and participating in society. So, in this context, this initiative was proposed. The European Year of Skills will be in place from the 9th of May of 2023 until the 8th of May of 2024. And it has 4 broad objectives overall. First, we want investment to be increased and also to be more effective and inclusive. We also want skills to be more relevant according to labor market needs, and in this respect it's very important to work together, particularly with social partners and companies. We also want to match people's aspirations and skill sets with labor market needs, particularly for the green and digital transitions and the recovery. And in order to do so, we will also pay specific attention to very specific target groups to activate more people in the labor market, and also pay attention to women and young people. And we also think it's very important in this context of shortages to attract people from third countries, while giving them also more opportunities for learning and providing also more opportunities for mobility and for recognition of qualifications. And also in this context, it will be also an opportunity for member states to understand which factors are blocking or being challenging in order to step up efforts for the upskilling and reskilling of the population. So that's basically what we want to achieve. And in order to do so, we want everybody on board. So it's not only an initiative of the Commission and other institutions. We really need to work together. And to do so, we would really rely on member states. We will have national coordinators to encourage action at member state level, at national, regional, and local level. We also rely on stakeholders, civil society organizations, social partners, companies, and other international actors to work with us to make the Year of Skills a success. And what can we do? So, of course, at EU level, we are going to communicate a lot and organize a lot of events to talk about skills, to promote our tools, to encourage action. But we also rely on you to do the same and to discuss about skills, to raise awareness among the population and the individuals, to take up training at all ages and for all target groups, and to share with us your insights, your best practices, trigger discussions, and this will also help us reshape our policies and design new policies in the future that are more effective. So in this vein, as the Commissioner already announced, our first event will be the Skills Festival that will take place on 9th of May. I encourage you to check our website and already register to follow online, and we will have many more. The following will be the Making Skills Count, and this links with a question that a participant had to the Commissioner before. This event will be also about giving visibility to skills, not only to qualifications, but we will also talk about validation and skills acquired in informal and non-formal learning. And this will continue. We will also have a vet week and other discussions and many other initiatives. One of the first key deliverables was yesterday's package, but there will be many more during the year. So I encourage you to stay tuned and also upload your initiatives and events on our website in the map.
Thank you for your call for action. And actually, I received yesterday the invitation to the Skills Festival and registered. And so check your mailbox as well. You might have received an invitation to that already. Thank you very much, Anna. Now I'm turning to Achilles Kameas from Hellenic Open University. And I would like you, Achilles, to reflect a little bit on the title of this panel. We are discussing about digital skills for equity, diversity, and inclusion. Why, in your opinion, it is important to take into account these aspects?
Well, thank you for inviting me in this very interesting panel, and congratulations for organizing the All Digital Week once more. And again, we hope we're going to have a bigger impact than last year. What is equality and diversity and inclusion? First of all, equality, as I understand it, is a goal, is a concept, let's say, an attitude. And then diversity is a fact, is a state. It's something that exists. And inclusion is a process that starts from diversity, from that state, and tries to achieve equality. Well, having that in mind, digital skills, we've already heard 90% of the jobs require digital skills. After the digital transformation imposed upon society by COVID, almost all societal aspects now and processes require digital skills, so the lack of digital skills will inevitably lead to exclusion, different kinds of exclusion. Unfortunately, many of them will appear simultaneously: exclusion from social life, exclusion from employment, exclusion from access to services, and so on. So we might have to deal with the appearance of a digital skills underclass, a set of people, a group of people that suffer from digital skills poverty, and thus they are not able to fulfill their, let's say, their life. They're not able to live their lives in a fulfilling way. And what tools do we have in mind, in our hands? What can we do to prevent this? First of all, we need synergies, as many of the previous speakers said before me. And it seems that education is our main tool, and that is why the role of all digital and of its members is so very important. We are all education and training providers. It is upon us to help the society deal with the issues of equality, diversity, and inclusion, and move forward towards a more inclusive society. Also, actually, this is mentioned in our manifesto for digital skills for an inclusive society, and many dimensions and proposals in this manifesto have the word inclusive and inclusion and equality and equal opportunities in them. But who do we have to educate? Who are we going to educate? Of course, the people who might be at the risk of exclusion, we start from that. But is it only digital skills that these people need? No, they need other skills as well. Digital skills is not an island, it's a part of a broader skill set. And it's now been clear since a few years that many sets of skills, many skill sets have to be developed simultaneously, digital skills being an important one among them. We need also to help people understand what are the digital skills shortages and gaps by, let's say, using self-assessment tools like My DigiSkills and so on. It is not enough, though. People are citizens, let's say, are one target group of inclusive education, but we also need to empower the educators. Already been said before, different measures have been taken lately. That's a very good sign. We have a road to walk ahead. Educators are the actors of change in our society. We need to invest in them. We need also to provide role models for the people to base themselves upon. But is it enough? No. Again, we need to work with the education providers as well. It doesn't make sense to, let's say, invest in the educators if the education and training environment does not help, is not favored, does not favor inclusive education. And then it's not only educators and educational environment, it's, as I said, the environment in general that we need to work with. It's the sector, the business sector, employment providers. Those must be made aware of the potential offered by diverse background, of the benefits that a multicultural organization has to offer, and of course of the need to incorporate digital skills and competencies into this environment, invest in their people, in their employees, and diversify the group of employees, the teams, and train them, train the employers, invest. We must also invest on the employers as a target group so that they favored this kind of multicultural environment. But then there is also the society at large, the people who must also become, let's say, more open, who must also understand that diversity has things to offer, that diversity is an asset. And the media, we need to work towards, against, I would say, hate speech online, for example, which is a recent phenomenon that, again, is really linked very closely to digital skills. We need to work to advance, to improve the media literacy competencies. Already these have been incorporated in DigComp 2.2. It's a very important aspect that now surfaces. And digital skills are also very important behind this. And of course, in order for all of this to function, we need an umbrella, we need, let's say, an armory of rules, policies that have to be put in place, have to be designed with the involvement of the stakeholders that are affected, but also have to be implemented. There is no point having policies if they are not implemented. And this is another opportunity for all digital to play, to help members and their states where they are active to implement the policies that are being designed for equality, diversity, and inclusion by promoting digital skills. All Digital has a lot of instruments that we apply in order to achieve this. All Digital Weeks is one of them, and it has a very, very big impact. Probably is the most impactful instrument that All Digital is running. But then we also have our summit, the All Digital Summit, taking place every autumn, in which we debate and discuss issues. And then, of course, we have we are now working towards the DigComp Hub. We are a big supporter of DigComp as one of the systematic way of describing and promoting digital skills. We are working towards establishing the DigComp Hub, and another part of it will be, DigComp Hub will be a part of All Digital Academy, the broader umbrella that All Digital is building as a service to its members, but it's also broader, as a broader service to enhance competencies, including digital competencies. Having said all this, having talked about all the different components of what instruments we have, education, the business sector, the media and the public, also the policies, all of these, to me, they look like they're very close to the component of a model of innovation, the quadruple helix model of innovation, a model that I like very much and that describes how we can produce innovation in our society, what are the actors involved. So I wanted to close by saying that to me it seems that digital skills, if the investments are made correctly in all these helixes, in all these dimensions, can lead to social innovation. And the All Digital Weeks is one of the events in which every year we see this kind of results. We see social innovation happening. That is why they are important.
Thank you very much, Achilles. And some of the initiatives you have mentioned will be presented later after the panel discussions, such as the DigComp Hub or the All Digital Academy. Even we will hear about the European Digital Skills Certificate feasibility study, which was earlier mentioned by Commissioner Schmit. Thank you again, Achilles. And I'm turning to Sara Loriato, policy officer from the AGE platform, and let's speak a little bit about older people situation when it comes to digital competencies and how digital competencies can impact their active inclusion and civic participation.
Hello, everyone. I'll just come back a little bit to what happened during the pandemic, just to give an illustration on what's the place of older people regarding digital skills. So during this period of time, we all benefited from digital acceleration with the possibility of staying in contact with our family, with our friends, relatives, to continue working. But a lot of people stayed offline, and actually it was kind of an obstacle for those people who were excluded and faced isolation. And the numbers show that older people are overrepresented among those offline people. At AGE, we believe this is mainly due to lifelong learning, and also older people or older adults education that is overlooked. And we think it is mainly due to an outdated vision that we have of the life course approach, meaning that we believe that we still think in terms of early years of our education. Adulthood is for working, and then we are pensioners. Today there is more flexibility than this, and we need to adapt that flexibility to education as well, and it is true also for digital skills. We also believe this is because of ageism, that is part of our culture, actually. It is true also for internalized ageism, meaning that we tend to believe that older people do not care about digitalization, that this is not for them, and this is not something that is interesting for them because they are at the end of a career, or because as pensioner you do not have any utility in using digital technologies. But I think we need a better support and appropriate support. First of all, in the labor market. At Age, we are working on a barometer to understand how to empower older people on the labor market and have sustainable working lives. And we see a lot of good practices showing that if you give new skills, new digital skills to older workers, it will of course improve the way the company is working and the projects are running. It is also true that it helps older workers to embrace career change. This is not an opportunity that you see really often in older age. And it is also true for pensioners. If they still want to be part of the labor market and still be active, having digital skills is important also for them. Outside of the labor market, there is of course a real need of providing the opportunity of gaining digital skills to access goods and services. We have, of course, I think all in mind the fact that the public services and the banking services are more and more online through computers, through smartphones. And without digital skills, there is kind of a difficulty to access just basic needs, actually, being able to do a transfer from an account to another. If there is no physical services, you need basic skills to do it online. It is true also to allow older people to participate in the political and cultural life. I have in mind the participation to the political life mainly because in France, and I'm taking this example because I'm French, we see that a lot of mayors in villages are pensioners. If you do not provide them with basic digital skills, and actually digital skills, how do you expect them to answer to the needs of the population and just run a campaign and continue their work? It is not possible. Another level where we think it is really important to provide digital skills to other people is, of course, to give them more autonomy and independence. When you think about other people that are in need of care, who are dependent of relatives and carers, you need to make the connection as well with those carers, informal carers, but also professional carers, who can be supported through digital skills. If other people are more autonomous using smartphones or applications just to improve their health or just communicate with carers, it would lighter the burden on the carers' shoulders and on the family shoulders. It will help them to do their work. And maybe just to finish, one point about the need to really think about the opportunity to gain digital skills and have digital learning opportunities that are diverse to answer to the diversity of the population. Even among older people, you can think about older women, older people living in rural area, and there is the question of accessibility, but also older people who do not have the financial resources to access the education, the basic education to get the digital skills. So really we need an intersectional approach to answer all those questions and answer the the needs of the diversity of people among other people.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I really like how you emphasize that digital skills are so much basic skills. Thank you for that approach. Now I'm turning to Alessia. Yesterday you invited us to the DSC's Digital Day. Thank you very much for your invitation. And I would like to ask a question, how enterprises, in particular social enterprises that your network is representing, and entrepreneurs benefit from the widespread development of basic as well as advanced digital skills.
Thank you. Thank you very much also for inviting us today and to come yesterday to present the the DigiComp to our audience. First of all, just few words to those that maybe don't know what a social enterprise is, but the EDSC represents social economy and mainly social economy enterprises in Europe. I mean, we are extending our activity also abroad, and we are talking about enterprises that mainly have three fundamentals. First of all is to have a social and environmental impact, then to reinvest the profit. So the profit are not for the management, but they are reinvested for the community. And third of all, the governance, democratical governance. So these are the three pillars, let's say, very basically on social economy enterprises. As I said before, when we talk about social and so inclusion somehow and environmental objectives, we cannot today not speak about digitalization and digital skills. It's the third year that we organized the EDSC Digital Day, really to underline how much there is this connection. And at the beginning it was very funny because we started probably a bit strong at the time, but speaking for instance about blockchain and how much such kind of technology took from let's say the social economy ecosystem, like mainly the cooperative movement, for instance, and how in their implementation and participation they really somehow replicate this kind of interaction. But of course, social enterprises needs still a lot to learn. They have still a lot to learn on digital skills in order to improve. Last November, the European Commission published the transition pathway for the social economy, where this link between the famous twin transitions on green and digital has been underlined even more as linked and going on at the same time. Elements that were put on the table, of course, in the discussion, we had the opportunity, as many other stakeholders, to participate and to very active in the definition of the transition pathway, where, of course, the access to digital infrastructure, digital literacy and skills, digital entrepreneurship, and digital innovation and collaboration. So those were the factors on which we had to talk and to discuss and to figure it out, mainly why they were important and how social economy could develop and improve on those areas. And coming from the digital skills, of course, why those are important for social enterprises, as for probably a lot of the enterprises anyway, but is for sure to improve the efficiency and the productivity, to improve the communication and the collaboration. If social economy enterprises have a strong element is, as I said before, we talk about ecosystem. So how those ecosystems can easily communicate and contribute one another to make it grow, to make the whole ecosystem grow. And then, of course, I mean, with the new model of businesses like the digital platforms. Yesterday, we had this very interesting intervention of one of our speakers that was also putting a bit a critical accent on the fact that 75% of the digital platforms existing in the world that we use every day have been funded, created, ideated in the USA, while from Europe we only have around 3% of them. And this is, I mean, and I believe that many of the brain behind the 70% comes from Europe somehow. So my opinion. Sorry for the voice also. So yeah, I mean, social economy enterprises are working quite a lot. We have been together with our other partners. We are now working on the blueprint for the social economy and proximity, really to understand what are the specific needs. When we talk about social economy anyway, it's a bit complicated because even if it's now considered one of the 14 industrial ecosystems, social economy inside has construction, has creative and cultural industry, has tourism, so healthcare. I mean, I can go on and on, meaning that it's not one unique sector, but it's so fragmented and contains so many aspects. And for each of those subsectors, the digital skills are very different. We are talking about around 14 million workers on the sector. So, and these are all potential learners, people that needs to be reskilled or to upskill themselves to improve and to make their enterprises more valuable on the market. Because whatever, I mean, we are talking again about social and environmental impact, but they are enterprises. They need to be profitable. They need to make money in order to be sustainable and to keep doing their job properly. So with the Blueprint project, this is what a base project, we are really trying to figure it out what might be those skills, transversal skills, looking at the digitals also, of course, to go through these huge changes that we are navigating. And there is this need of also collaboration between the organization working on the sector, but also the partnership with vet providers, universities. So, I mean, the message is also, and as was said before, you know, we cannot do it alone, but it's also looking at the enterprises world. We have to bring around the table different actors and different stakeholders in order to progress and to answer as much as possible to those needs.
Thank you very much, Alessia. And now I'm turning to Jakub Christoph, who is from CEPIS, representing the European Professional Informatics Societies. And we have been talking about basic digital skills, even advanced digital skills, but not forget about the highly professionals, the IT professionals, who have a very important role to play in Europe. What is needed in order to meet those targets that the European Union has set?
The short answer would be a lot is needed. But when I try to think about certain more specific aspects, let maybe first try to imagine what is the, let's say, the stereotypical view of an IT professional in the eye of hopefully no one in this room, but quite frequently in the society. Many still thinks that IT professional is slightly nerdy looking coding developer sitting in the basement eating a cold pizza, recently graduating from their local college with computer science degree. That's still a view that many people would share. And there are many misconceptions in this stereotypical view, but not all of them. It is far from the truth. First of all, the fact that it is a coder or developer, this is more and more a rare case in terms of the demand for the IT professional job profiles. The developers are not exactly on the rise. Everyone, as we sit here, we can, without even any idea of any programming languages, right now we can ask the OpenAI, please write us a code for simple applications that will change the color of the screen into blue. Within 5 seconds, we receive the code. And that we can do it ourselves. Think about the big tech companies and their possibilities of using the development and coding via the AI. We don't necessarily need to see IT professional who spend hours on trying to debugging a code, which was always taking a lot of time for many developers. Right now, a machine will be able to do it in no time. But does it mean that in general IT professionals would be less in demand? No, far from it. We've heard Jeremy's earlier in his presentations touching on some of the job profiles for IT professionals that are very much in need. Cybersecurity, absolutely. We are living in an unprecedented age of cyber attacks these days. I would add also data analysis. This is very much a profession that is in the rise in terms of the demands. Organizations need to make more and more critical decisions being data driven. There are also a number of professions related to the implementation of the AI, but I would say there is also a huge group of different job profiles among the IT professionals that I would call them generically bridge builders. I'm talking about the DevOps engineers and specialists. I'm talking about the full stack engineers. I'm also talking about the UX and UI designer, the user experience, user interface designers. Those professionals who are linking the development side of the IT industry with the operations, with the real needs of the organizations, of the companies. Those people are very much in demand, and they will, in the foreseeable future, be in the huge demand in the job market. So one misconception to fight with, and using such a tools as we have, on one hand, the DigComp as a framework for users, but also let's not forget the ECF, the framework for the professionals that's been developed by the works of Sen. We need to try to think how the best, all of us here, dear colleagues and friends, how to promote the IT professionals' jobs of the future. And that is coming to the second misconception, that this IT professional is a computer science graduate. Again, it's becoming more and more further from the truth. Yes, of course, one path of becoming someone who could be considered IT professional, it is traditional formal way of going through college and university and obtaining a degree, but it's just one of the multitude roads as we know now. Signing up to various courses, informal learning, lifelong learning. This is very much the way of becoming or stepping first on the first step of the ladders to become an IT professional. it is important to, and here also we have tools. I'm sure our next speaker will tell us more about these opportunities in terms of the adult learning, but we do have a variety of tools here, including the variety of the training courses at the different levels, including the certifications such as the vendor certifications, but also those vendor neutrals like ICDL. These are the ways to introduce the concept of becoming IT professionals without necessarily following a traditional path to it. I think this is important as well. And the third thing I wanted to mention, and that unfortunately isn't only a stereotype, but to large degree through the male aspect, that this person, this IT professional is male, and yes, statistically this person is a male. And here it is, I think, an opportunity for us. There are incredible opportunities of increasing the number of IT professionals by tapping into the groups that are social groups that are underrepresented in the society. And sometimes the data, the statistics might be misleading. If you look at the employees of the big tech companies and their let's say gender balance, you'd think it's not that bad because they are close to parity. But if you delve into the tech jobs within those big tech companies, but also otherwise, it's not very rosy then. You will see that loads of people in even the tech companies, the roles that are being performed by ladies are in the non-tech position. So there is a huge opportunity here to promote the paths to those new type of roles via different ways by addressing the underrepresented groups in the IT profession.
Because anyone can become an IT professional.
Absolutely, even you, Peter, if you want. It's not too late still.
And to conclude this round, I'm turning to you, Gina, representative, Secretary General of the European Association of Education for Adults. Thank you for your question for the Commissioner. Unfortunately, he couldn't hear it, but I think the question was already there and right and appropriate. What is the role of non-formal and informal education in digital competence development? And if you could highlight the lifelong learning perspective. You are not the only one in this panel who is speaking about it, but it's really important. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk here. And as you said, that informal and non-formal learning for everyone is one of our key issues. Allow me a few sentences about the EAEA. We represent adult education organizations and institutions across Europe. And we concentrate mainly on what's known as general adult education or liberal. Okay. Okay. Liberal adult education. No. No.
It works, no?
One, two, one, two.
I'm not collecting.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, great. So our members are doing mainly general adult education, also what's known as liberal adult education. So less concentrating on continuing vet, although plenty of our members do that as well. Might be Volksbildung in German, might be Volksbildung in the Nordic countries, popular universities in some other areas. So for us, of course, we have a number of issues within non-formal learning that are important to us. But before I go into that, let's just think for a moment how much actually is happening in non-formal learning, starting with, for example, libraries there's an enormous lot where of learning happening and digital learning happening in libraries, where people can also get help when they need to fill in forms on the computer, etc. We have our members, for example, we do more regular training courses as we know them, but also in some cases you just have tablets available and people just help out when people want to use them. So there's a huge number of learning. Once people have some basic skills, they might follow YouTube and so on, also in order to learn. Now, what are key issues that we're working on that are also close to my heart, I have to say? One is basic skills. We have talked about that. Basic skills for older people also. I'm not going to go into that because that was already presented. But really being able to reach people who normally don't learn, who are excluded. For me also, and for my organization, outreach is extremely important. And if we want to do outreach, especially if we want to empower people, for us, it is very much an issue of empowering people to take control of their lives, take control of what's happening to them. We know that a lot of people who don't have basic skills feel that they don't have much impact on their neighborhoods, their families, and so on. And that is something we want to work with, putting the learner at the center, as Brikina has said earlier. And we need digital skills in that whole package, because people will not be able, we've mentioned it, to access services. There are fewer and fewer bank branches. You know, how are you going to get your money? How are you going to do it? And so on and so on. So basic skills together with outreach and trying to go to the people who need learning is key. The other part that is very, very important is to have a more well, I mentioned democracy first, and that is also a key issue. And we have plenty of members who organize discussions, information sessions, whatever you might call that. In the Nordic countries, we would talk about study circles, which are also happening in other countries under other names, where issues like what are algorithms? How do they work? You know, the kind of things, if you are a user of computers, if you are a user of social media, you might actually need. We need to look into, I mean, having all these discussions. Brikina, again, mentioned the fact that it is also about participating. It is about having the knowledge to and the possibilities to shape our world rather than, you know, running after the information. And there are plenty of groups with our members who are currently working on that, trying to get the information out, working in a non-formal way to actually get enough knowledge, get enough information to be able to contribute to the developments, even if it's in a smaller environment, but nevertheless contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gina. And please keep the microphone. We have about 50 minutes left. We have 7 panelists, and would like to give you the opportunity just to ask one question from one of your other fellow panelists. And I would go in the reverse order now, so that's why I said that you can keep the mic, Gina. And if you have any question for any of the panelists, please ask. And let's say 2 minutes for each round of this, and so we keep the time frame.
Okay, I'm not
Please.
quite sure. Oops, sorry, I'm not quite sure who I can address on that, but maybe you just. But yes, for me, one of the key questions is partnerships, and not only partnerships, but also cooperation mechanisms. It's all very good to, say we like each other. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I believe, and I think, well, we as an organization, as rather at the beginning, I think we need cooperation mechanisms to make it, to realize and implement partnerships. And I'd be keen to hear more about that, maybe generally, or if someone has a good practice example on mechanisms of making that possible, I'd be very happy.
Who would like to answer this question about collaboration mechanism? Georgi, please.
I don't have a mic, so I will speak.
The session is streamed. That's the only reason why we need the mics.
Of course. Apologies. Yeah. It's all hybrid now. I will start if anyone wants. I will be less than 2 minutes. I will point you. I mean, it's a great question because that's the ultimate test how you can make this cooperation work. And I would like to point you to the Erasmus program, which I don't know if you're aware, but 1/3 of the Erasmus program is not spent on mobility of people. And there is a huge amount of projects which are of relatively, I would say, smaller scale, but which enable a few organizations to work well together. These are the so-called Key Action 2 projects, and this is quite large in terms of numbers, and any type of partnerships between let's say civil society organizations of the like that we have here, plus public authority or private sector is allowed, and in fact works pretty well. On top, I want to say just that in Erasmus we have also a very special Key Action 3, where sometimes we launch bigger experimentations, and we do them with specific priorities in mind. And for example, we have just launched something on AI, or we will do something on disinformation as well as on computer science. This is also where the ultimate objective is not to write a study, but actually to get the people together. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we have put in place also some collaboration tools in DG Employment. We have the Pact for Skills you may be aware of. These are large-scale partnerships between education and training providers, chambers of commerce, public authorities, companies, and so on to work together towards upskilling and reskilling. We also have a community, EPALE, also for adult education. You are aware of it, right? I mean, it's also a good source to put people together so they can also apply to Erasmus Plus projects. And we have indeed some very successful partnerships already built through Erasmus Plus, so we encourage you to apply and continue building these networks and partnerships.
Thank you very much, Anna and Georgi, for your answers. And I would like to turn to Jakub, if you have any questions for anyone.
Yes, if I might ask Achilles here, as a representative also of academia and touching on the subject of diversity, there is this growing negative trend of many young women dropping out of universities in the STEM majors. It's becoming more and more worrying from my perspective. But I'm wondering if you, on one hand, share this worry, and on the other hand, if what can be done to prevent its happening, or what can we do instead to keep the women very much within the tech and STEM fields of education?
Yes, thank you, Jakub, for the question. I happen to be a member of the Gender Equality Committee of my university, so well, one thing we can do is educate again, but educate not only the women, but also educate the men as well. Because the reason that, one of the reasons that women, and this is very unfortunate, but it's true unfortunately, one of the reasons that women do not reach the high potential they are entitled to is because men are there and occupy these positions, or men somehow don't think that it should happen. So we need to educate, let's say, both sides, if I may say this, well, this is not very appropriate word. Then on the other hand, perhaps we need to take another look into the way that we have structured our curricula. This might require, let's say, involving more women in the design of all these educational services that we offer, so that we incorporate their point of view, which is different. And then again, I think that we need to educate the broader environment in which this is going to happen. So what I want to say is that this is not a problem of the disciplines themselves, of course, but it is an issue of empowering the women first of all, and at the second time creating the favorable context into which they can thrive, because we need women to participate at least in equal terms in society with men and with all the other genders.
Thank you very much, Achilles. Alessia?
Thank you very much. It's very interesting point, but we just closed this year, January, a project that was addressing digital skills to migrant women. And it was for us super interesting to see that we reached around 100 young women that with different background from countries, but also family situations. And I think that, 80% of them ended up with completing the training. And then what was even more interesting was that we organized these job fairs, and we were able to involve 40 enterprises, ICT enterprises in 6 countries in Europe. And with directly interviews and so on. So there is this willing from the enterprises, and there is the willing from the women to learn. I think that, yes, as Achilles was saying, what is missing probably is the awareness on also what are the job opportunities that are sometimes not well, if not well explained, but they are not, the information are not very accessible. And then, of course, gender stereotypes from the very beginning. I mean, we need to work with the educators and who orientate in the decision making on what are the faculties, what are the educational path.
And I want to have the final word on this. I forgot to mention before that we also need role models, a lot of them, because there are already women out there successful and actually contributing, but they have to come out. They have to present themselves to make other women follow.
Keep your mic as long as it works. And if you have a question for another fellow panelist, please ask.
Okay, thank you. I have actually a dual question, so I will look to the left and to the right. My question is based on gaps. We have identified. We're talking about education, okay? And there should be a continuum in education, but there isn't. So we have the formal education, and then at some point this ends, and then we have lifelong learning and perhaps non-formal education. But it seems that there is a gap between those systems. What can we do, and this is a question for you, Gina, what can we do to address these gaps? What kind of synergies do you think we should pursue? And this is one question about gaps, and there is a second question about gaps that is for you, it's my retaliation. We have the IT professionals, the skills, the IT skills, they are described very nice in ECF. We have the DigiComp that describes the, let's say, citizen skills, but First of all, we have the non-IT professionals who might need digital skills, and then we have people who are professionals but also citizens. And then we have these frameworks and perhaps other frameworks, and I also have sensed, trying to apply them in different projects, gaps between them. This is, let's say, when does a skill, a digital skill, stops being a digital skill for the citizen and becomes an IT professional skill, or probably the other way it happens, actually. What was IT professional skill, as you very successfully said a few moments ago, now it is a citizen skill. And then there is the time-based gap, that the skills that today are considered to be advanced a couple of, I don't know, months, maybe years, in the future will become basic and will go, let's say, from the professional group, sector, whatever, to the citizen sector. How can we work on smoothing this transition? What kind of investment do we need to take? I have one mic. Somebody.
So you first address Gina. Let's start with her.
Yes, I think that is one of the crucial questions. But the answers, I think, are on different levels. One is the systemic level, and here we have to say that in many countries there is too little infrastructure for adult learning, lifelong learning, etc. It just doesn't exist in that way, or are very, very small organizations and so on. So that is something that needs to be addressed from a systemic level. And it also needs to be linked better to the other systems. If you look at overviews of educational systems, you often have, primary school, secondary school, university, or various colleges, etc. And you go, where's the rest? And it isn't even in the overview of the educational systems in the countries. So that is one level. And here there is, we are hoping that slowly things are changing. I have the impression that, for example, the Upskilling Pathways Initiative has had some impact, and more countries are investing more in order to do upskilling. The other issue is more on a personal cultural level, that someone mentioned it, that there is that concept, once you have finished your formal education, that's it. And very often people talk about motivation. I have to say I don't like that concept. I think it's about relevance. In order for people to learn, it needs to be relevant. Otherwise, why should you spend your, little time that you have next to your job on learning? So if it's relevant, be it for your personal life. I have a lovely example, a young man who had very low qualifications and skills. He was so fascinated by his regional football clubs that he taught himself Excel because he wanted to follow his club and have all the results in there. That was really relevant to him. So either because it's hobbies or because it's interests and so on. It could be for work because you want to do something else or better and so on. But we cannot expect that we offer something wide and expect that people just pick it up. And I also wouldn't blame them. We need to be more aware of what the needs really are, because then people will come and then people will learn.
And Jakub, if you could answer Achilles' other dimension questions.
Yes, indeed. And Achilles, in his question, was touching an incredibly important things that can be summarized in some ways, that we are playing defense. We as a community dedicated to enhancing digital skills, we are catching up. We are catching up behind the technology, and we are one step or two steps behind. Sometimes we are developing very, very important and useful tools like the DigComp. But in terms of the implementation of DigComp, we still haven't reached the level that that would be truly useful for the whole European society. We are only now having the EDSC study that might improve the usability of this great framework. But I think to address the problems of these gaps, we need to move on to offensive. We need to try to be more brave in terms of the predicting the future trends of technology, and trying to develop the policy not for today, not for something that was useful 2 years ago, but trying to use the models of what the policy should address in the 2-3 years of time in terms of development of technology. It's not easy, but as one US president from the past said about going to the moon, we shouldn't do it because it's easy, we should do it because it's difficult.
Thank you very much. I'm checking the time and we have only 3 minutes left. I'm not sure if we have enough time to complete this round, but if any of you would like to say a final word, or maybe all of you, we have a few minutes for that. Georgi, may I ask you to, I mean, either to reflect on any of these previous questions.
I had a question for you, which I appreciated.
Or if you just ask a question,
it's fine,
so
it's fine.
we
I
can discuss
just want
it
to say that
further.
it was a great point that you've made. No, I would like to just thank you for the opportunity and invite you to look into what we have proposed, because this is going to be a long journey. And it will be very important that we get stakeholders on board. Many of you were there in our stakeholder consultation processes, so thank you very much for that. It's you know, it's like a marathon, and I think that I can agree with many of the panelists here about the challenges. Ultimately, it's really about implementation. I think that's why we have proposed everything in the context of the Digital Education Action Plan. I always say that we're not proposing strategies here. We are actually taking our sleeves, well, not right now, but normally, yes, and then we go out and we just do it, because I think that we have enough strategies and enough good ideas. So it's more about implementation. So invite you to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Well, just a last word to remind being conscious of the risk of exclusion, and really think about people outside of the labor market, but also people, all the workers who are about to become pensioners, in providing them digital skills. And maybe a final word just to thank you for inviting us and helping us to raise the voice of other people, even when we talk about areas where we think where they are actually invisible.
Well, it was a pleasure to be part of this panel. I was very glad to listen to all your insights and challenges highlighted. I think the European Year of Skills is about this, having discussions, having all stakeholders' voice heard, and this is food for thought for us, so don't hesitate to come back with written insights and things that we could do differently or better to help us get in our collective objectives.
Thank you, Anna. Jakub?
In my last word, thank you very much for inviting me here, and please, as a community dedicated to the enhancing digital skills, don't forget about the IT industry and about the community of IT professionals, and try to look for the synergies between enhancing the citizens and the workforce digital skills and the communities of IT professionals. There is almost, in every European country, there is the dedicated informatics society. So please reach out to your national computer society. There are loads of things that you can work together with them in the area of digital skills.
Thank you, Jakub. Achilles?
Yes, thank you. It was great being here, and thank you all for this great discussion, and thank you all for being patient with us. I wanted to close by saying that equality, diversity, and inclusion will only be possible if we have enough social innovation to accommodate it. So All Digital Weeks is a very nice opportunity for you to get in touch with this kind of innovations, social innovations, and also next year we hope you will produce your own and we will see you there.
Thank you. Alessia?
Thank you very much also from my side for, of course, bringing social economy in the picture of the discussion, and also for the partnership and the collaboration. We were saying before that just thanks to this kind of moments and the willingness of working together, we can go ahead. So thank you very much for doing it, not only today, but all along the year and all the activity that we have.
Thank you. And Gina, the last word is yours.
I wanted also to echo what Sarah was saying. When we talk about digital skills, it's not only about a particular group, it's not only about the labor market, it is about every one of us. I'm sure if I look around, well, okay, maybe not the people from All Digital, but I have lacks and gaps when it comes to my knowledge about using social media algorithms and so on. And I think we all can use more and better digital skills. And that is something I hope will also be reflected in the European Year of Skills, that it's all ages, all levels of competences, skills, and for all kinds of purposes.
Thank you very much. And let's give a big applause to our panelists. Thank you for your participation, and thank you for your attention. Now we have a 15-minute break, and then we continue with several short presentations. See you back. partners. And Sasha, if you could just try and get the participants back. You start. You will start, yeah. Okay. So, welcome back. We are going to present 3 important initiatives that All Digital is running and being involved. Namely, the All Digital Academy first, a learning platform and learning context focused on emerging technologies, AI, IoT, but it's a little bit broader context because All Digital is working on providing such a service for its member organizations. And I will ask my colleague Afonso Araujo to present you the All Digital Academy, and we will have also someone to join us online. Sorry? Yeah. So please start. You have a presentation. Mm-hmm. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Let's see. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's just wait for the PPT. One more minute. Yes, perfect. Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Afonso. Sorry, hello. My name is Afonso. Today, I'm here to present you the All Digital Academy, together with an online colleague of mine, Theodore from HOU, who's online, and we will present the second part of this presentation. Now, this project is an Erasmus project. It's a flagship project of ours. It started in 22. It will go to 24. We have 3 partners. Of course, All Digital has coordinator, HOU and Unina supporting us and doing a great job. Thank you guys, by the way, for your work so far. I think it's... we have a website, of course. Most of you will have heard about this from last year's presentation. I would like to now call you to register in our newsletter, as we'll have a few news that I'll speak about in a few seconds. And if you register, you'll receive this directly into your mailbox. Now, we heard today a lot about how AI, and I'd like to add IoT, are important in our lives, in many areas of our lives, especially also in education. And how these technologies will, in fact, very much change how we function and how we interact with the world. Who among us hasn't tried ChatGPT, for example? On a personal note, I think it's important to underscore that I tried to explain to my parents what I did and what these things were, what AI was, what IoT was. And I have to say, it's not easy for people who are not trained or are not from the 80s, let's say, to understand these technologies. So it's clearly very important to raise awareness about these 2 topics. And this is what we're trying to do in this project. So basically, the main point of the project is to strengthen the capacity building of adult educators, of learning centers in these 2 sectors, or in these 2 areas, sorry. Of course, as I said, these 2 areas will transversely affect our lives, And therefore, we want to insist on this point. And that's why we're preparing a set of 2 MOOCs, one on AI, one on IoT, to do specifically this, to create trainings for trainers and accomplish this work. Now, on our website, which also doubles as a platform where all these trainings will be, we'll also have a community which is already live, so you can register also there for exchange of best practices. Now, the big news today is that we have in fact opened the registrations for the first cycle of the other MOOCs. You can use the QR code or the link. Please visit and share, of course. We'll be sending soon, of course, more information through our channels. My last slide, and before I give the floor to Theo, so in parallel to these trainers, we'll have a set of webinars focusing on best practices to showcase real-world applications of AI and IoT. And as such, we would like to collect from you, our members, potential ideas that you would like to share with us. So if you'd like to participate, come talk to me, write me an email. We would like to hear from you. And with this, I would like to give the floor to Theo. I hope you're there.
I don't hear. I don't. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead.
Should I share the screen?
Yes, please do so.
Okay. Can you see my screen? The typical question. Can you hear me?
Yes, all good.
Okay. Good evening to all. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this presentation today. We will discuss a bit about the 2 MOOCs that Afonso mentioned before. These 2 MOOCs are on the 2 technological fields that are probably the most impactful the last decade and are rapidly changing all business, human, financial activities, which are the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence. We will have 3 cycles of delivery. The first cycle starts on the 3rd of July 2023 and ends on 25th of September of 2023. The duration is 3 months. The MOOCs are delivered in English, both MOOCs. There are no prerequisites for these MOOCs. The delivery mode is fully online. We have a cohort-based learning, a weekly format for these MOOCs, and in total, each MOOC will account for 24 hours of workload of study time. And of course, a very important information is that these MOOCs, participation to these MOOCs is completely free. There are no fees. So let's take a look in each of these 2 MOOCs. First, the IoT MOOC will provide an overview, a comprehensive overview of the Internet of Things technological field, starting with fundamental knowledge on this topic and providing an analysis and description of the most important enabling technologies and platforms, such as sensors, communication technologies, cloud IoT platforms, and several other enabling technologies. And then it will proceed with human-related issues such as human-computer interaction in the context of IoT, privacy, and entrepreneurship, while it will conclude with presenting some selected IoT use cases. The course is designed for anyone who is interested in IoT, and it intends to assist learners in understanding the focus areas through learning material that is of a basic and intermediate level of difficulty. The learning objectives of the course are for learners to define concepts and implications of IoT, to recognize architectures and basic components of relevant systems, to familiarize with IoT enabling technologies, to describe the types and means of interaction with such systems, comprehend fundamental business aspects, identify security and privacy challenges, and finally gain insights of real-world IoT applications. Looking at the contents of the IoT MOOC, we will have 12 modules, and we will start with the first module, Introduction to IoT, which will provide a brief outlook of the main concepts and characteristics of IoT. Then the learners will have the opportunity to get a deeper look into the components and architectural approaches of IoT systems. Moving then to the things of IoT, that is sensors, actuators, and gateways. Then we will examine interconnection and communication, how these things are interconnected and communicate with each other. The fifth module focuses on the several computing architectures such as the cloud computing, the fog computing, and edge computing, while the sixth module will concentrate on several hardware platforms that enable the development of IoT applications, which could be either microcontrollers or microprocessors such as Arduino, Espressif, and Raspberry Pi. The next module deals with software tools for IoT applications development, mainly web-based software tools that can be used to design and develop applications, and they are mainly used to turn an idea into an IoT solution. The next module will provide an overview on in some technology, some approaches that can convert raw data to information and knowledge. These technologies include big data analytics, artificial intelligence, and of course, machine learning. Then we have the three modules that comprise the human-related aspect of IoT. First, the means and modes of interaction with such systems. The 10th module will focus on security and privacy challenges, as well as issues concerning ethics. And then the next module explores the ways that IoT can create value, and how the IoT solutions can be monetized, that is, which are the different business models that can be implemented, that can be used to start gaining, to provide value to IoT products. Finally, the IoT MOOC concludes with selected use cases, probably the energy efficiency in buildings and especially the school buildings. This is because we want to put the emphasis on sustainability. The schedule is what you can see in this slide. As we said, the duration of this MOOC is 3 months. We have 2 hours workload per week. One of these 12 modules will be delivered in each week, and 2 hours of workload is allocated to each module. Moving on to the AI MOOC, it will start with providing a historical overview of the evolution of AI and how AI has impacted society and the economy. And then it will move into a detailed description of artificial intelligence, including the different types and subfields. Several modern applications and technologies will be also presented, such as natural language processing and image recognition. Students will be also offered a hands-on experience in building and training AI models using Colab notebooks. And finally, the course will include a module on the various applications of artificial intelligence across different application domains. After completing this MOOC, all learners will have gained a strong foundation in AI concepts, a practical experience in building and training respective models, and of course, an understanding of the artificial intelligence ethical implications. These are the 5 learning objectives of the AI MOOC. First, to outline all the developments of AI and the various milestones in the evolution of AI, to define AI and discuss the different types and subfields, understand how artificial intelligence works and how it can be used to solve real-world problems, recognize the breadth and depth of AI applications, and finally, understand the importance of ethics and responsibility in the field of artificial intelligence. We have 6 modules. The first module refers to the history of AI. The second module introduces the basic terminology of AI and discusses the various subfields such as machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing. And then the MOOC provides an in-depth explanation of how the techniques of each field are used for different goals, such as clustering, regression, and classification. Then there will be a module where we will have a practical experience. The learners will have a practical experience in building and training AI models using the Colab notebooks, and some guided exercises which will assist learners to build and train AI models. Then the next module, the 5th module, will discuss several applications of artificial intelligence, while the MOOC concludes with ethical considerations and potential risks associated with artificial intelligence. This MOOC also has a duration of 3 months. We have, again, a 2 hours weekly workload. One module will be delivered every 2 weeks, and this makes each module to account for 4 hours of workload. We have to say that the applications for the first cycle are already open. In order to register for each of the MOOC, for any of the MOOC you may want to attend, you have to register at the ADA platform first, and then you will be able to select the MOOC you want to participate into. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Theodore. I think we can.
With all digital members, we are going to speak about the use of the platform as well as tomorrow. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question. What are your ambitions with the All Digital Academy? Is it supposed to be like a big platform filled with MOOCs?
On short term, this is a project. So we focus the All Digital Academy on the selected subjects. Whether the All Digital Academy in the future would be able to accommodate other members' training offers, that's to be considered. And of course, we need to look for continued funding and support in order to further implement it. This is how we start. We already have other projects which will be using the All Digital Academy's platform for their learning offer. For instance, the next one which we are going to present, the DigComp Hub, which will be a training program on DigComp related resources. Another project which will use the other platform. For the moment, because of the project's frameworks, we cannot open it up. That might be coming in the future. Yes? Yes. Are they? Yeah, I mean, what has been presented is funded by the European Commission in an Erasmus Plus project frame. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to another project presentation. Stefano, would you join me? We are going to present, and thank you very much, Theo, for being with us. Thank you for your presentation. And I'd like to ask the technical team to launch the DigComp Hub presentation. Okay, so, well, it's we have asked Stefano, our colleague, to speak about the details of the project. I'm going through on a brief presentation of the framework of the project. But before that, I would like to say that the DigComp framework, the Digital Competence Framework for Citizens, has been in place since 2013, as you may all know it very well. It has gone through several updates. Currently, we have the version 2.2, which was launched or introduced last year. And we believe that all education and training offer, which is targeting digital competence development, should be based on the DigComp framework, which is a great achievement of the European Commission to introduce this framework. Of course, there are other key competencies and there are other frameworks supporting those key competencies, but digital is very important. And it's one of all digital strategic goal is to support the governance, the further development, and the implementation of the digital competence framework in Europe, but you might say, Stefano, not only in Europe, but also the rest of the world is very much interested. The DigComp framework, as you may know, has a structure. It defines 5 main competence areas, 21 individual digital competencies. Well, I haven't really started my presentation, just giving a bit of background on the framework. 8 competence levels and certain other dimensions that help trainers and educators to develop and implement digital competence training and education programs. So, As it's a strategic goal for our digital, we were looking for funding opportunities to introduce a hub, a place where educators and trainers can find a lot of information about the framework, and which will help to use and implement the digital competence framework widely across Europe. So we established a partnership together with the Hellenic Open University, the European Grants International Academy, and Bantani Education. By the way, together with Bantani Education, we are working on a project which is building synergies between entrepreneurial competencies and digital competencies. So we obtained a grant through an Erasmus program, and the project started in January and will last for 30 months. So we have two main goals, basically. One is a policy goal, and the other is an educational goal. The policy goal is to facilitate the adoption of the DigComp framework in adult education sector in Europe. We also want to create synergies between DigComp, the digital competencies and other frameworks, and also to produce recommendations on how to further improve the digital competence framework. And of course, we have the education angle to support and engage adult educators, adult education providers, to use the DigComp framework. In this project, our main target group are adult education providers and other organizations who are active in the field of digital education of adults. When we look at the objectives, we have three objectives. One of them is to continue developing and nurturing the DigComp COP, the community of practice, which has been existing for some time now, and we have more than 800 members, and our target numbers that we continue growing the membership. We collect and share resources, including best practices, reports, etc., which is showing how training providers are using the framework. And we are going to develop micro-learning resources and share in the COP. And Stefano will speak about more about the COP and its functions a little bit later. The second objective is basically a training and mentoring program. We are supporting professional development of adult education providers, trainers and teachers in adopting the DigComp framework through a short-term training and, importantly, a mentoring program. And if I can click, the last objective is a little bit of a promotion, a dissemination, a European campaign to promote the adoption of the DigComp framework in education activities. This is where we are in the project, quite at the beginning, over here, maybe on the second circle. We are in the process of designing the DigComp training and mentoring program, and later, in the later stages, we are going to implement this training and mentoring cycles. And I think, Stefano, you will talk about the call for inspiring experiences, and probably, if it technically works, I would like to finish by showing you a small video, and then I give the floor to Stefano.
The world is changing, and so is the way we work and live. The digital transition is a priority for the European Union, making it essential that citizens have the appropriate skills to access the job market and participate fully in society.
The DigComp Hub Erasmus Plus project
aims at supporting adult education providers and educators across Europe in the use of the European Digital Competence Framework for all citizens,
also known as DigComp,
creating synergies among adult educators, policymakers, and other stakeholders. How to achieve this goal? Developing a community of practice of like-minded people around DigComp, in which to share experiences and knowledge. Create an online training and mentoring program to help adult educators to learn and use DigComp more effectively. Get as many adult educators in Europe to start using DigComp. Join us in driving the digital transition in Europe. Visit the DigComp Hub website and join the DigComp community of practice to learn more about our project and how you can get involved.
Okay. So I will go a little bit deeper into the issue of the community of practice. I don't know, well, many of you are part of this COP, but not all of you. And it was born in a few years ago, following a workshop that we ran in Bilbao with Anna, and Achilles was there too. And at the end of this workshop, we decided that the time had come to create a mechanism to put together, to connect researchers, practitioners, and other people working on digital competence development that shared an interest on DigComp. So the COP was launched at the time. It has been run since then mostly on a voluntary basis. All Digital made available the DigComp platform to run it. And during the DigComp 2.2 update process, there was also some expert support granted by the JRC. Currently, you don't see much, but the membership of the COP is over 800 people from about 80 countries all around the world. And it was a year ago 570 from 57 countries. So it's been constantly growing. And it's interesting because really there are people literally from any country around the world contacting the COP and saying, we are interested in DigComp, we are working on DigComp and so on, and we're looking for a place where to exchange ideas. This shows the composition of the COP in terms of categories of stakeholder. You see the majority, not surprisingly, is education, and I would say mostly we're talking about tertiary education, university people, so researchers, many people who are currently working on how to train students, university students and staff, teaching staff on digital competence. Many of the people who register from university have this concern, this interest. And then other, more or less equally, you see third sector, government and business. And then we have some international organization starting from the European Commission, but also UNESCO, World Bank, and others. In the past, what did the COP do? Basically, it contributed, an important event for the development of the community of practice was the support given to the update of the DigComp 2.2, because at that time, for about a year, we started 12 thematic working groups, which took care of the different topics that were included then in the update. And it was a moment where many people joined the COP to participate to this process. Another activity that the COP has taken care of has been the supporting the translation of the DigComp reports. You know that for some reason, the DigComp has not been translated in all the languages of the Commission. It's up to, other frameworks have been translated, but this one not. So it's up to each country to do it. And we have made available, in collaboration with JRC, the graphical files and support of various types for the translation process. There have been some discussions every now and then on specific topics, the assessment of digital competence. Interestingly, many people are looking at how DigComp can be used to design and then design and also develop the training for what we call digital professional profiles. Again, this is where our friends from Ikanos project have led the way, started doing this a few years ago. And so this is another topic that is quite, many people are interested in this. And finally, it's like all these kind of platforms, it's in a place where materials are exchanged, information about projects, search for partners, and so on. In the new, you should read the right side, this was the past. In the new project, DigComp Hub, the idea is to enhance the visibility and sharing of members' experiences with DigComp, especially in the, as Peter said before, in the adult education sector. So, as I will say in a while, we started last week, we launched this collection of inspiring experiences and reusable tools. And I will explain later how we plan to run it. Then there is the idea of collecting and sharing open educational and other resources that are produced by members of the COP, and explore and, as Peter said before, explore and promote synergies across the key competence frameworks in adult education. Because when we look at them, the frameworks from the point of view of the, let's say, the policy making, each framework has its own history, came out at a different time, has different topics and so on. But from the point of view of educators, increasingly we are hearing that it's a bit artificial. I mean, when you develop an educational proposal, yes, you may do it focusing more on digital competence, but very often you can do it in a sustainability related project or in an entrepreneurial initiative. So we want in this, through the DigComp Hub to start mapping and understanding how this is happening and how it can be done. So the call for inspiring experiences of DigComp usage, well, the aims are obvious: enhance the visibility and sharing of DigComp usage experiences. The interesting thing is that the COP is full of people who are doing very interesting things. I manage the registration process, so I see the form that people write when they register, and there is a field which is why are you registering, basically motivations and your interest motivation. And very often, not all of them, but very often there are people tell, we're working on this and that, and my standard message is when I say welcome, etc., is why don't you post what you wrote in the motivation message to the COP, because other people might be interested to hear about what you're doing. Nobody does it. So, and it's a pity, because there are really very interesting things happening. So we decided that we should probably take a more proactive role in this respect, and now with this project there are the conditions to do it. So we started to do this activity, to stimulate members of the COP to tell about their story and present their results and so on. And also we want to use this material most likely as sources of inspiration and study material for the training and mentoring activity. The experiences we're looking for in these inspiring experiences come from three environments: adult education, formal and non-formal, vet education, and also higher education, from within the COP membership, but of course beyond. So we started also dialoguing with other networks who work with this kind of interlocutors to help us disseminate the information about these experiences, this call. And we want to find significant use of DigComp, and we based on the previous research, we designed a kind of model. We modeled the steps, the typical steps that people who use DigComp in an educational setting go through in the use of DigComp, and we want also to test this modeling through this collection of new experiences, because this was done a few years ago. And well, for instance, with one of the first experiences that I will mention now, we already added one step which I had never found before and never thought about before, and of course we're looking for activities which have been completed or at least produce some interesting results. So we're not looking for a project being launched now and then we don't know what will happen with it. And the call has been open last week. We plan to keep it open until the end of the year, but then we will see, maybe even longer. There is a place where you can click to find the form, fill it, and so on. And the idea is the most significant experiences to present them in webinars for the DigComp COP and community and beyond, of course, as part of the DigComp Hub project, with a standard format, 1 hour, 20-40 minutes to present the experience and especially how DigComp was used, and then the rest of the time for questions and answer sessions. And the idea is to record these webinars jointly with the slides and with the form that are filled to create a kind of package, information package about the experience to disseminate. And okay, and the first two examples, so you will also be able to understand what we're looking for, are two experiences which will be presented during the All Digital Weeks. One on the 26th of April, both of them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The first one is from an experience from one of our partners, Bruxelles Formation, and AFP, who developed a very rich range of activities using DigComp here in Wallonie, in Belgium. And I was saying before that one of the interesting things they did was they developed they call it vulgarization or popularization version of DigComp. Because one of the problems that trainers normally highlight is that DigComp is difficult to understand. It's a framework with a difficult language, abstract, and so on. So, good idea, and they did it. And this, for instance, is a step that a few years ago I had when we studied the experiences that went into the DigComp into Action report. Nobody had done that, but now it's apparently some organizations started doing it. And the other one is a more focused experience also comes from Belgium, from the Flemish part. It's a web-based learning environment which has been designed using DigComp to support. We call it civic integration. In fact, it's the joint learning of language, digital skills, and understanding of the labor market, because the topic of this environment is enabling people, migrants who come to Belgium to look for a job using all the digital services which are available today. So these are the first two experiences that we will present during the next 2 weeks. And thank you. This is it for the moment. And the next big challenge, and I would like to launch a message. We are starting to design the training and mentoring part. And if any of you has or is willing to contribute with your own experience and also reflections or researches that you may have done about the difficulties of using DigComp by educators, by adult educators, but also instructional designers. When we talk about educators, in fact, we're talking about different roles which may be playing inside an educational and training organization. If you have, based on your experience, reports, suggestions, or anything, please share them with us, because it's going to be an important input for the design of the training and mentoring activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefano. And the last project we would like to present is going to be probably a brief and short presentation, because we unfortunately had a last-minute cancellation of the speaker who was going to present the European Digital Skills Certificate Feasibility Study. But my colleague Norman has just volunteered to say a few words or sentences about this initiative. So thank you very much, Norman, for jumping in. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Peter. This was really very short notice. We wish all the best to Angelo to feel better very soon. I'm very sorry that he couldn't stay and give this presentation and give you also more details that I unfortunately won't be able to give you. But just as an overview, what we had intended for this initiative is that the European Digital Skills Certificate feasibility study is a process that has started in December last year, in earnest with the start of the consultations. And it's part of the Digital Education Action Plan to come up with an idea how can we equip citizens, and particularly citizens, not necessarily IT professionals or other types of usual certification holders, but citizens in the use of digital skills and certify that they have basic digital skills. In that, the European Commission has launched the study, and we are very pleased that All Digital and our consortium partners in NTT Data and Empirica have been selected to conduct this study. And we have been very busy on this because the study is on a very, very tight deadline. and there have been a lot of activity on this. There have been rounds and rounds of consultations online with surveys and interviews that have been ongoing, and we are now at the point where we are about to start the development and then the implementation of pilots for this. These are at the moment still very relatively open-ended. We don't know yet what is going to be implemented in the end. The two options that we have basically is going in the concrete certification framework, which has its advantages, which has its disadvantages. The other hand is creating a framework for the existing certifications and new certifications that are coming up, and that's something we're still exploring. But we are now coming into the hot phase of the feasibility study, but it's important to note for you that this is at the moment just a feasibility study, so there's not anything planned at the moment to be concretely implemented. We are just trying to figure out what is best to implement and what can be implemented in the end. That's where we are. You will hear a lot more about this in the coming days and weeks. In your member states that are involved in also some processes that the Commission is running, also feeding into the study, aside what the consortium team is doing. There will be a big stakeholder workshop tomorrow that is gathering feedback and input for this next phase, and we are very much looking forward to that. And I hope to be continuing to count on your contributions to this and the support in then the next steps of this. And yeah, that's it for me. And if you have any immediate questions, I'm happy to answer those I can. And otherwise, thank you for your attention.
Just want to add one thing. Since some of you who might be interested in attending the workshop tomorrow will be here at the Digital Assembly. So, in fact, those who won't be able to attend tomorrow, there is a possibility to contribute in the next 2 weeks by written way. So it's not going to be the interaction that is going to take place tomorrow in the workshop, but there is still the possibility, and this is not just for the people who will be here at the Digital Assembly, but also because other people said that they wanted to contribute, but they could not be physically engaged tomorrow. So this phase of the workshop is tomorrow, but then I think there are 10 days or something like that time for contributing, answering to the question, the issues that will be raised tomorrow during the workshop. Yes, this should be said on the community of practice. The other one, because you know there are two communities of practice. One is for the certification process and the other one is for the DigComp Hub. So yes, this will be done tomorrow, I think.
Hi, thank you. I'm relatively new to this certificate. So I was wondering, what is the case for it? Like, why would we need a European digital skills certificate? Could you briefly sketch the use of it?
Yeah, I can try to do that. Well, a certification of your learning outcomes is something that happens in all fields of learning. It happens when you do a language course, for instance. You also get a certificate at the end that it says you have this level of proficiency in it. And that's somewhat the idea that's also happening with the digital skills certificate. It is very much also linking into the ECDL, the International Computer Driver's License, that covers some aspects of this, but the certification that is now being in the works and is being discussed and how far that can be implemented has a wider aspect, links much closer to the DigComp framework that was just presented, and wants to give a wider aspect of citizens concretely to say, I have basic digital skills and I have this certification that proves it. And that's something that is valuable both for themselves in a self-affirmation way, but it's also then helpful in for the labor market and their aspirations there, that they can certify that they have these competences, which is of course both advantage for the job seeker side, but also for the employer side, who then can rely on the employees that they are trying to hire having these competences. And that's the idea. Why on a European level? Because we are, of course, wanting to try to harmonize this in some degree, and also say that people can easily assess if a certification that is acquired in the one country then is also easily understood and accepted in another country. And that's another aspect that is behind this. I would also like to take the opportunity again to thank you for the astounding response that we received for this study and the interest in the stakeholders. There was over 1,000 stakeholders that applied and registered their interest, and that we have consulted on this in one way or another through several surveys. So thank you for that. That's really much appreciated, and also shows how important this idea is.
Thank you very much, Norman. And if we may have the last 10 minutes of your attention, then I would like to ask my colleague Andrea Bedorin, All Digital Weeks campaign coordinator, to briefly present our 3 weeks campaign, as today it is the launch event of the All Digital Weeks campaign. Thank you very much, Andrea, for volunteering for this.
Thank you everyone for coming to Brussels, for those that traveled today or yesterday, and thank you for still being here. As Peter mentioned, and you know, we are here today for the campaign, for the launch event, and the motto of the campaign is Enhance Your Digital Skills, which is a call to action for everyone to improve and enhance their skills from basic to advanced level, to remain relevant in the job market, but also to remain active in society and for inclusion purposes. The campaign is based on the key question: why do we need all digital weeks? And there are some reasons. And only 46% of the population has currently basic digital skills. 65% of elderly people have got like basic digital skills. 32% only of the internet users are, sorry, this is a bit small, probably this is bigger, sorry. And these are not skills, but like also my glasses. So coming back to the internet users, only 32% missing digital safety skills. Only 24% of Europeans check the truthfulness of content found online. So this is kind of relevant also for democratic purposes. And only 50% of employed persons have received ICT education. So the campaign is one of the major pan-European awareness-raising campaigns on digital skills for inclusion, empowerment, and employment. Is organized since 2010 by the All Digital Network. And it helped about 1.5 million people to get online at first, and now to enhance their digital skills. This is like the visuals created, and as you can see, this is co-founded by the European Union, and it will last from 17th of April, from last Monday, till the 7th of May. It's supported by the European Commission and involves international and national partners and participating organizations in different European countries at local and national level, and they are supported by our national coordinators, and events are locally created by libraries, digital competence centers, community centers, schools, and universities. The campaign focuses on 6 main topics. The first one that was covered today, digital skills for equity, diversity, and inclusion from basic to advanced skills. DigComp and digital skills certification as just presented in the projects. Digital media literacy and culture, cybersecurity and safer internet, which is like a very hot topic at the moment. Digital skills for environment and sustainability, and digital skills in specific sectors that will be tackled across in 3 weeks by different events. And supporters, as mentioned before by Peter, are like European Union and particularly European Commission, and we had the Commissioner today, Certiport and Microsoft. We have 21 national coordinators from 20 countries, because in one country we have joint coordinators, and the countries involved are Lithuania, Serbia, Slovenia, Spain, Italy, Latvia, Estonia, and Belarus, as is like joint activity from ebaltic.org. They have EOS and NBPR from Romania that are jointly supporting the campaign. Cyprus Computer Society. Then we have organization from Croatia, Turkey, Switzerland, Austria, Poland, Sweden, Bulgaria, Malta, Germany, Czech Republic, Portugal, and the UK. And we have also 19 strategic partners. There are many. We had already some with us today, and there will be many of them organizing international events. And you can see in the international list of events their contribution. They will also contribute to our project events that will be organized over the 3 weeks. And then anyone can join all digital weeks. There are different type of contribution. There is the map of events where local and national organizations can submit their own events and register their events. We already have 600 events, and we plan to have more than this by the end of the campaign. So please join the campaign and upload your own event on the map of events. We'll explain you how in a second. We had like the policy event today with the international launch event with our keynote speakers and the policy panel. I don't repeat because they've been here with us today. Second pillar of the campaign are the international events. They are distributed across 3 weeks, and there was the event today supported by Microsoft, but then there are like also the other strategic partners involved in the campaign, and you can look at the website alldigitalweeks.eu under international events. So you can see next week also is quite busy. We will have 4 events and then more events, and in particular the closing event involving all the actors of the campaign on the 5th of May in the morning from 11 to 1, involving national coordinators, strategic partners, supporters, and some local organizers. This is like a map of events. As you see, there are already plenty of events uploaded on the map, and you can continue uploading events, visiting the website and putting the event on the map. You need to register your user, then you create the event through the form. You will be able to discover as well different events there and participate as well at local level. So search the events in your countries or through the different topic and themes of the campaign. You can also share your own event on social media. You have 4 channels: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and you can share using the button once you upload your own event, and the events will be shared on social media. Then you can also get a certificate as a local or national organizer. You need to go on manage events, print your certificate, fill out the form, and then you will get your certificate that can certify that you have been a local organizer of the campaign that is organized by the All Digital Network. And if you need more information, you can always contact us and contact@alldigital.org, or today you have the chance to contact us here in person. Thank you very much. And enhance your digital skills. That's the key for our future.
Thank you very much, and this is the end of today's event. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. You can find, of course, more information about All Digital Weeks on the alldigitalweeks.eu website, and please participate and encourage others to participate in our campaign. We would like to welcome you to a networking reception at the lobby area, and dear All Digital members, we are going to meet tomorrow in the morning, and we start at 9:30 with our General Assembly. Thank you again, and please stay with us.